Yeah, grüß Gott zusammen. Welcome to the stage. We hope you will enjoy a little bit our deep dive into the Content Innovation Cloud. Tiago and I, we are working in product management. And Neil will join us later, not with the guitar today, but he will join us later for doing the demo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And if you are here, I bet you agree that your top talent is just as good as the data that we provided. So 80%, that's the number of the world's data that is unstructured. And that's a big number, a big problem. So right now, if I gave Manuel a bunch of files, folders, images maybe, emails, to his desktop and say, well, I need to do something, figure it out. It will definitely be a challenge. And that's what unstructured sounds like and feels like. When we go to our customers, we talk with their employees. And usually that's their feeling. That's what they are telling us too. So let's meet Lena. She's a top talent from Munich. She's a great professional, unmatched experience. And when we ask her, do you feel your talent is fully utilized every day? Well, and let me just pause. I did this in less than a minute. So she has motion also. How good of an evidence it is that it's becoming completely ambiguous, that Gen AI and AI is democratizing. But that's actually the response that we get from those employees. And we are well aware. We know that 30% of every employee day is just searching for information. So all the siloed containers and repositories, they actually delay customer service. They hinder collaboration, and they really create compliance risks. So if we go back to Lena and ask her, okay, so what's stopping you for getting to your full potential?
Admin busy work and endless answer hunts, they're robbing time from my real strengths.
Yes, so it's trying to find answers. And trying to find answers, it's not that simple as it seems. So if you look at what answers are, they are obviously the data. So you get to search the data, you need to find the data in those files, in those emails. But that's not the only thing. You also need the context. So when you kind of understand the context, the first thing you need to know is this the right question even? And then, using the context of that question, you need to validate the data. You need to know, okay, does this data make sense on the scope of this question? And finally, even if you have all of this, you still need to analyze. And to analyze, you sometimes need to process data. Sometimes you'll have to use tools. And that's also a hard problem to resolve. So even when we have everything, it's still troublesome. So many times, and we know that 60% of the data, it's not complete. So you can really not find it completely. And even if you have the data, then 50% of the people will not completely trust that data because they don't know what is the context of that data. And that's exactly what we are resolving because it leads to lower job satisfaction, and it gets less time for higher value work. So if we look into different industries, we see that that's a broad problem. So nurses and physicians, they spend 33% to 46% of their time doing these mundane tasks, these administrative tasks. Insurance, 25% and above, and underwriting, 40%. We know that Lena is not real, but our story definitely is. So let's look into the concrete stuff. Where is the data, the context, and the analysis today? The data, it's buried in content silos. So we found that our customers have up to 21 different systems where they use information to have business decisions. This leads to duplication, wasted effort, and also a lot of risk with blind spots. Context, we have a lack of governance. We have lack of context that makes it difficult to really apply global policies and to understand context at scale. Also, the underlying problem of the unstructured format. You cannot really analyze it without going through a lot of effort reading and looking into it and really understanding it. And finally, the analysis, it's mostly a manual process. This is inefficient and cannot be scaled.
So, as Thiago said at the beginning, 80% of the world's data is unstructured. And what I think everyone realizes right now, in the area of AI, it means that ignoring these unstructured data means falling behind. That's why we at Hyland have created the Content Innovation Cloud. That's something Mike, Jitesh, everyone was talking about this morning. We want to meet our customers where they are. We want to use your data, structure your data, use your unstructured data, and that's why we have built the Content Innovation Cloud with all its layers. Today, I would like to, or in our session, not today only, in our session, I would like to focus a little bit on this middle layer here, where it's about the tools and services we are delivering for you today. We had this already this morning with Tess and Colleen showing some of these tools, how they work, and we now want to deep dive a little bit. But before we do this, and before I deep dive here, it's important to understand that this journey of Hyland and unstructured is not something which started just a year ago or with Jitesh joining. This journey started way earlier. I was discussing with a partner just before, during the first break. This journey started 30 years back. 30 years back, we at Hyland, we started with advanced capture, our first parts of document capturing and document indexing. Then, later in the early 2000s, we started with AnyDoc, using AnyDoc to mark signature recognition and starting with template-based data extraction and validation. This was a big step for us at this time, but then we came to the next step, and it got more intelligent. We had machine learning algorithms coming in, and with Brainware, we were doing less template-based learning, document understanding, and classification of documents. With more and more human in the loop, we brought in more and more learning to our system. We understand more, and we put higher volume lookups to it. So some of you may know Brainware is a very broadly used system right now, and it is something which we started as to learn out of Brainware. And then in 2023, we understood that we need to do more. We need to use these services, and we need to start orchestrating these intelligent services into one big product. So this is what we started in 2023, and then everyone knows ChatGPT came up, and we are starting now to go into this next level, which is Agentic AI, and we will support this with the Content Innovation Cloud. We use the newest intelligent services, which are now GenAI prompt-based, and we are using them to extract, classify, and separate services. But as we did this in 2024, not so many people were talking about agent at this time. You know, we were talking about GenAI, we can ask questions. Maybe RAG came up very early, and we were talking about knowledge discovery, for example. But this year, we realized that we already started our agentic journey. We used GenAI with the tools for OCR to process documents, and that's why we are now moving into this, what we call agentic document processing. You're reading right, we don't call it right now intelligent document processing. For us, it's much more. It's a next step to this. It's not only using intelligence, it's using agentic for it. And with these with these agents we have built, which is a separation agent who takes a batch of documents, analyzes the context of these batches, and then separates these documents and these batches into its smaller pieces into the document. And then we are using a classification agent who classifies all these documents, figures out what is this document about, what does this document belongs to, which department needs to use it. Is it a CV? Is it an invoice? Whatever it is, this is what the classification agent does. The next step is then having extraction. And extraction is something we were using for a long time. Instead of indexing everything manual, these days our extraction services or our extraction agents can do this for you. They index your documents. They extract all the data out of these documents, and they can do it even more. And we will learn later a little bit from Tiago what we can do with this data we are getting out of these documents in order to have an AI-enabled data. But this was not the only thing we did. We also put in a prompt-based configuration system, and we put in pre-built orchestration templates, which makes it easy for you to adopt these new services and agents. So the system will be pre-built, and Neil will show us later how these agents are fitting together into our orchestration engine. So what we did here is we didn't only, let's say, plugged in new technology. We also started moving IDP from a very developer-centric or solution builder-centric more into a business situation, where business users can leverage this technology and can start building something. We have seen in the morning, and also Neil will show us, how easy it can be to configure these things. Business side can do this today on its own. It just needs minutes to implement. There's no training, no labeling needed anymore. This works out of the box. There's pre-trained models which understand documents, they understand the context, and they're getting better and better over time. Plus, end-to-end process automation is much better now as we have the orchestration engine. And as we are doing all these extraction, now the system has a much better contextual understanding, and decisions can be made on top of this context. As it comes to context, Tiago?
Yeah, it's not just documents. So your enterprise content, it has a lot of things, right? It's images, video, conversations, web pages sometimes, emails, even images inside your documents. So this is why we need to process all of this. And if it works, there it go. And we need to structure it. We need to get all the enrichment and metadata, but we shouldn't stop there because we don't want only the what, we also need the why. And for that, you need more insights. You maybe need a detail inside a customer call. Maybe you need to know about a photo that justifies a decision in a claim case. Maybe you even need to understand a nuance within a policy document. And by extracting all of this, you are getting the full picture. You are getting all the AI-ready information that your context-aware AI systems and your AI agents need to rely on. And there's where knowledge enrichment comes in. So it supports above 600 formats, so file formats. It allows your unstructured content to be actionable. It provides the context and understanding that you need. It improves your data because you don't want to have garbage in, garbage out, as we all know. It enables your content to be found and understood. And it's also, because it's AI first, it enables you to be suitable for your developers, for your builders. But let's take a step back and look at everything that we said, myself and Manuel. We have the agentic document processing. This is truly the next generation of processing content, processing documents. We capture content in multiple channels. We have a base of AI-powered, prompt-based document capture, processing, and enrichment, which is on top, has on top a BPMN-compliant automation design that works with low code. We've built agents that can do OCR and image processing. They can also do separation and classification, extraction and validation, and also enrichment and vectorization to get that semantic out. All this information, insights, context end up in your content lake that actually will feed into your agents, your enterprise applications, but also your repositories. So you can get that information back in your repositories. And let me geek out a bit. I'm a bit of a geek. So for a specific thing, having AI-ready content, it's not just about all this process. It's really doing it in a fidelity mode. So when you extract information that you are going to feed an LLM, you don't want the content to be different. You want the exact same semantic, the exact same content. So by converting it with doc filters, we get that fidelity. We also want to preserve the structure. So a table that we see and understand in a document needs to be understandable for an LLM as a table. Heading should be understanding as the same type of heading. Also, it needs to be ready to go. You cannot really spend time doing extra cleanups or changing formats. And finally, it needs to retain the position. So when you look at an envelope, you know exactly who sent it and who it's going just by the position of the text. And that's what the meaningful information that we need to preserve. And by having precise extraction and spatial context, we are creating the AI pipelines that are smarter and that you can trust. But let's go back to the answers. So we've dealt with the data. We showed you how we process the data, how we can achieve the extraction of all the context that you need. But there's still here a parcel that we didn't deal with, which is analysis. And for that, we actually have knowledge discovery. So knowledge discovery gets you the answers to support your decisions. You can ask it in natural language. It finds the critical information across all your repositories and systems. And you can create agents. So these agents can be specialized in use cases, in a specific business domain, so that they can learn and get better every day. They unlock actionable insights from your information, and it reduces the time that you need, those 30%, to spend every day just looking for information. So this is a quick demo. I know that most of you or all of you already seen knowledge discovery, but still, so this is the newest version. You have your gallery of the agents that you've created. You can go into one of them, ask a really quick question, and get not just information, but the answer back. So it's data, context, and analysis. And you can validate. You can go to the documents that it's as reference and really see where is this data coming from, the lineage. So again, back to this. And someone like Manuel, he wouldn't stop there, right? You want to evolve. You want to...
Someone like me.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good.
So you
That's
want
why I'm staying here the whole time.
So you actually want to do the next step. And the next step would be to iterate. So you would want to understand, okay, is there any information missing? What else can I try? Did it actually solve the initial problem that got me the question? And for that, I'll give you an example. That's something we call deep research. And I'll give you a simple example. So we used NASA documentation just because it's open. And we asked this question. So we wanted to understand from 2024 to 2026, what were the priorities of the budgets and what were the trade-offs, what are the ones that are visible. And what the agent is doing, it's getting this question, it's planning, and it's figuring out, okay, I need to search information about the priorities for these budgets. Also, I need to search about any information about trade-offs. Then it gets all the information, so if you remember the order, it's retrieving, and now it's trying to decide, is this enough, is this not enough? So it analyzes, it sees, okay, it's missing some information for 2025. So back again, it's planning, how do I get this information? And it searches for this information specifically, so it can fill the gaps, and finally, it analyzes all the set of information that it has. It has all the data, all the context, and now it's ready to really generate the full report. And instead of giving you just an answer, it's going to get you a full report. This is something that we are right now finishing, but this is what's coming next. So if you ask this question in discovery, and if you do it as a deep researcher, you'll get exactly this. So you'll get a report that has a lot of information, has all the information to be a complete report, and it's just iterating. It's just getting a better answer, seeing if it fulfills every need. And if you compare it with the traditional one, it's really much more complete. So what's left? We have everything. We've evolved it. We have kind of a very complete answer. The next step is obviously just to take action. Take action, learn, and improve. And for that, we built the Hyland enterprise agents. So these are the ingredients for our agents. They are Goal-driven, because it's very important that they adhere and they are aligned with your KPIs, with your business. They are autonomous, so they can execute and do what they need to do. They have memory, they plan, they sense, so that they can basically be in the environment of your systems. They can use tools so they can execute, and they can reflect and learn, so that they evolve. These are the ingredients to have the order. These are the ingredients so that you can orient, you can retrieve, you can decide, execute, and also verify, review. And they are definitely enterprise ready. So as we saw Jitesh explain, security and governance, it's paramount. It's something that everything that we do needs to be based on this. They are deployment agnostic, so either if you have an on-premise system or something in the cloud or both, you can really deploy and apply these agents. And they are done to do an end-to-end workflow. So they are not just resolving one small task, they really need to fulfill a full business flow. And as we saw this morning, there's a spectrum of autonomy, right? So it's not all the same back. And here we try to explain kind of the spectrum of autonomy. You can start with your left side, where you have the kind of the initial prototypes of agents, where it's mostly a chatbot. So it will give you information and it doesn't do any actions. Then you have assistants that are taking actions to themselves, but they are still just, the user is leading the effort, right? Then you have task agents that actually go in and do the full task. Finally, we have the enterprise agents that can be a mesh, can form in a mesh in a team that actually resolve a full business flow, end to end. And that's where Agent Builder comes in. So Agent Builder enables you to create these agents and to manage their life cycle. So you can create it in a natural language. They can use, as we saw in the morning, MCP protocol to actually execute. You can add them to your automate complex workflows, and they can scale decisions. So this is the important part. They scale decisions so that you get more free time to do what matters. And if you want to get into the agent world, you can start just with where you are. We don't want you to move. So if you have on-base, Alfresco, Naxio, Perceptive, you can start with only one agent. You can put it in some manual step of an existing workflow, and you can start from there. You will, in fact, agentify your existing workflows. If you have other systems, you can have the agents collaborate with those systems, either third-party agents or applications. But if you want to really go deep into this and build modern agentic orchestration, then you'll use our Automate to use those agents.
So, thank you, Tiago. I think what I described at the beginning of our journey into the processing of unstructured data, already showed us that orchestration is a very important piece. And what Tiago just showed us is that with agents and all these new services, orchestration gets much, much more important in the future. So 2 years back, as I stand at Community Live presenting the first time about Automate, our tool for orchestration, the question was, why do we need orchestration? Nowadays, it's much more obvious that we need orchestration because there's much more smaller pieces which needs to be brought together so that we are getting this symphony of tools and at the end, something which sounds really good, the solution at the end. So the message is, every one of us, you need orchestration. And therefore, we have built Automate. Automate is a platform for orchestrating agents, processes, agentic document processing, data models. We have pre-built connectors in the system. We can integrate with every kind of system using REST APIs. This is all together into Automate, our orchestration engine. And we see here in the middle, this is a low-code platform, and this is the agentic task here in the middle, where everything comes together, and we are doing it. Colleen has shown this today already in the morning, where we have seen the BPMN flows. So it's built on BPMN. But there is an important piece to it, which is missing if we are just talking about orchestration. And Jitesh showed this morning about agent mesh. People are part of the agent mesh. People are part of orchestration. That's why Automate also includes a user experience for end users. You can build your own user experience. You can build your forms. There is a forms builder where you can easily drag and drop input fields, buttons, and such kinds of things in there. We have AI, which supports you in building forms, which, by the way, I didn't expect it was so good, but I tried it so often now. It's really, really helpful. We did the same for BPMN flows, and these forms now are very much integrated also with the BPMN logic. And as you see on these screens, also every action you are doing on these screens are integrated with orchestration. So if you fill out a field, automatically a process, an agent can start working on your input. And then this input is taken directly or the output of the agent is coming back and can be used then to enrich these user interfaces. As a whole, we have a platform here to bring everything together and to build agentic solutions. And as Mike also said in his roadmap presentation, we just released Intelligent Med Record, which is one of these solutions. It's one prepackaged solution. It brings everything together. It directly connects with OnBase for this example here. It reduces time, and it's purpose-built for a specific use case. And we are working towards releasing more of these. We have intelligence correspondence, which is more like a mailroom scenario for the healthcare sector, for medical data. And that's something we are also releasing. I think it's next week or the week after, and I see Mike is knocking his head. We are releasing this so everyone can also do this. But on our roadmap, we also have AP Invoice, which is something I was asked by a lot of our partners and customers over the last year, as I was talking about agentic document processing. And that's something we will bring as pre-built solutions. And we will evolve more and more pre-built solutions directly on the platform, which will also help you to have, to not start fresh from everything, to have a kickstart directly into the system. But it's not only about workflows and orchestration. Data is also important. And I think this is, Tiago, where we need to look at another good example, right?
Right. And before we go there, let me just pause a bit and summarize, because it's a lot to take. I understand that. So we started defining the problem, the 80%. We then went into the symptom, which is the employee force just spending 30% of their time searching. Even when they find it, they don't trust it. We talked about the potential solutions that we are taking to you with agent document processing, knowledge enrichment, to take care of all that AI enablement of content. I'll wait. And we understood, okay, to get the proper answer, you also need to process, to analyze that content. So then we showed the next step, knowledge discovery, and then the next step even, which is taking action with the agentic automation. Right now, we've talked about all this potential, but let's try to anchor it into something real, into a small, really basic use case that we develop here. So denial claims, every hospital, they get lots of letters, denial claims, denying claims for their patients. So when they get this, they need to check is this final? Is this something because I need to submit some information? What is the justification? And more important, what are the due dates? Because if you miss any of it, the full process is done. So on top of all of that, they don't look like this. They look like lots of other template forms, structures, ways to put the information on. So each vendor will actually have a different format. And what we did is that we built one enterprise agent. We added to a solution where this was a manual step, and we saw the benefit. And it was huge numbers. So if we look into how many hours those hospital and clinics employees spend per year just reading these denial claims, it's really staggering. So a small hospital could have someone looking at this throughout the year, 500 hours per year. In a large hospital, it can be even 10 times that. And this is really not where we can want to spend our time. And by having enterprise agents taking action, having decisions, of course supervised, and with the full governance that we need to put in place, we would achieve what we want, which is to empower people, to unleash our data, accelerate success. We want your organizations to be able to leverage AI in a sustainable way, in a productive cycle that grows and gets better. We want you to have confidence decisions, to rely on the right context, the right information, the right data, so that you can use it as a strategy to be more competitive. And finally, we really want you to focus on what matters, which is having great customer experiences, talking with the people, collaborating, and moving forward.
So let's welcome Neil Raymond now. Big applause, please, for Neil.
Guten Tag, Munich. Guten Tag, Munich.
Guten Tag.
Okay, I'm Neil Raymond. Probably about half of you may already know me from previous events that we've had, where I've been forced by Hyland to crash my camper van, or I've been wearing a wig, or I've had to wear a mask or whatever. But today you've got the real Neil Raymond, okay? The real face and the real hair today. And there will be no surprises, okay, today. Or will there? Who knows?
No, I'm not sure. Let's try your demo first.
No music?
Music.
Can we switch?
No, one more slide for me, please. Thank you.
One more slide. Sorry, you're right.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about intelligent invoice processing with Hyland AI. Okay. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the end user experience, and then we're going to take a deep dive under the hood on how that actually looks, okay, and how we can build that solution. All right. So what we're seeing here on the screen is we have the AP clerk, the accounts payable clerk, that has a dashboard, okay, and they're working with those invoices. They need to look at those, review and approve those, okay? But behind the scenes there, we're using IDP to extract, to do the OCR and do the AI extraction and validate the compliance. But then we've also used AI agents as well, so to manage exceptions, such as things like vendor not found. Okay, so the AI agent will do a multi-search, okay, against different systems within the enterprise, and try and find a match, and then come back with a recommendation for that, okay? Also in there, we've got knowledge discovery, so we can analyze the invoice, we can ask questions about that invoice, and compare it against the PO, the original PO that we had, and the contract terms in there as well. And if there's any discrepancies in that, we can actually draft the email, okay? And of course, we can't forget the vendor. Okay, so we can send emails back to the vendor, and they can then respond back as well. So let's do you want to see a live demo? Yes, good, good, good. Okay, so if we could just change the screen for me, please. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the AP clerk, okay? We have a dashboard. You can see that we've got a number of invoices in here that are processing, things that have been approved today. But you can see down here that we have the invoice inbox, okay? And so you can see that this one here needs attention, vendor not found, okay? So what the clerk can do is they can click on this particular document here. It does a little bit of processing on that, and you can see that we've now extracted the information from here. We've got the address, the VAT ID, the invoice details, and we've got all the table data from that particular invoice. Okay, but we do have a problem. We've got this name not found, okay, because this is not the correct name. So let's go and use one of our AI agents to try and resolve that. Okay, so we can click on this little button up here. Okay, so first of all, we're looking in MS Dynamics. Okay, it doesn't find anything in there, so it then uses the next tool that it's allowed to use, which is the Salesforce CRM. It doesn't find anything in there. It then takes the email address, okay, so the domain name from the email address in the invoice, and then finds a match in MS Dynamics. It does a little bit of fuzzy matching to see whether that's correct, does some cross-validation, and then it says the resolution is complete, and saying that this is actually Acme Corporation, okay? So at this point, we now have the human in the loop, okay, which is very important. Just no word of a lie, I was coming up here, and it was actually my smartwatch was telling me I'm playing golf. I absolutely am not playing golf right now, so we're just putting that human in the loop here just to check, okay? So here we go, we can say accept AI recommendation. Okay, and now you can see that that has now changed in here. You can also see that we can ask Clive, our AI invoice expert. I was expecting some moans and groans from that. Clive, Community Live, okay. Okay, so this is where we're asking knowledge discovery AI. Okay, so here we've got, does this invoice match the contract? I've actually written it down at the bottom here so I don't have to type it all in. Okay, and then we can hit send. Okay, within a few seconds, knowledge discovery is going to look at the contract, look at the PO, look at the invoice, and it's going to come back with some analysis in here. So it's looking at the contract analysis, it's looking at the purchase order. It sees that there's a line 3 that's not found in the original purchase order of this. Okay, and it's saying there's an issue detected, 2 days of training for this amount was not part of the original PO. Okay, and it gives some more analysis here as well that it violates section 5.2 of the contract, and the recommendation is do not approve this invoice. Okay, so at this point here, if you've seen knowledge discovery before, it actually references the documents that it's gone and had a look at and analyzed. So we can click on view source documents here. But for this, for this particular demo, we're just going to click on draft email to the vendor. So we've now got another AI agent taking all that information as part of this particular process and adding this to a draft email. So it's going to draft the email to us. Okay, so a couple more seconds here. And now you can see that we have our AI agent has drafted the information for us with this email saying, dear sir, madam, the invoice number, there's an issue with it. Position 3, 2 days training, doesn't match the original PO, and also that it breaches the contract in the clause 5.2 here, okay? And either what we can do here is they can remove that, or they can send another PO or an explanation as to why it is in there, okay? And signed by the clerk. So we could make changes in there. And by the way, I didn't know I could speak German. Okay.
Why not?
I can't. So at this point, we can say send email, and then obviously that gets sent off to the vendor for a response. But let's take another look now. We've also got a 360 degree in here. Because we are extracting, within IDP, we are extracting all of the tables in the same format, it's very easy for us to do a summary, okay, of everything that we've spent with a particular vendor. Okay, so let's take a look at the vendor here. And you can see that we have the number of invoices is 24. With the list of the invoices down here, we can click on Generate that AI summary table. And you will see that we've now got our generated purchase summary, software licenses, total quantity, etc. So we can see all the spend that we've had, all the quantities that we've actually done with that vendor in that report. Okay. So that ends the user experience. I'm now going to dive under the hood and take a look at how this has been built.
I think there is something I would like to add here.
Sure.
What you also have seen is the agent was working. You have seen all the steps the agent was executing. And these steps is something we are recording also in the background. So every time a new agent starts, every time an agent is executing on a plan, then all this data is there, and it's auditable, so you can go into it afterwards. You can check what did the agent do, why did the agent do what. So that's something you can not only see on the screen here, you can also have in logs and directly use it for understanding why decisions were made in which direction. It's a very important piece as compliance and governance are very important for all of us as it comes to data and processing.
Yes, good point. Thank you, Manuel. So let's take a look under the hood. So now we're going to take a look at automate. You can see we have this BPMN process. Okay, so here we have our start event. We're actually getting the invoice in. We're then doing some extraction on that. So this is where we're classifying. Let's take a look at that sub-process. So this is our IDP sub-process. And if you remember, Manuel was talking about those agents, so the classification agent, the extraction agent, and we package those documents up for the next part of the process. So that's where that's happening. Okay, if we go back to the main process here, you can see that we're doing some database validation where we may not find the name, that vendor lookup. Okay, and then we take the happy path, and then everything is okay, and we just visualize that invoice. But unfortunately, we took the unhappy path today. We took the very sad path, and we had to go and do a vendor lookup here. Okay, and that's where the agent kicks in, and you can see that we have the agent here. We then have that human in the loop task here to then process further. Okay, we'll come back to the agents. Now we're going to take a look at how we can configure IDP and the power behind IDP. Okay, so we have a number of invoices here and some sample documents. So the first one I want to show, you've probably seen over the last 2 days, if you're with the DevCon, probably a lot of the sample files have been quite clean. They've been quite, even though they're unstructured data, they've been quite structured. Okay, we wanted to show you some edge cases as well and the real power behind IDP here. Okay, so first of all, I've just deleted a document. I think that's the beauty of live demonstration. So let's take a look at this first one. Okay, so this one, you can see it's very difficult to read. Let me zoom in. Okay, a lot of background noise on here. There's no real structure. Even though we're trying to get the item description and the amount from this, there's no real table format to it. You know, the item is up the top here, and then we've got the two values down here. Not a problem for IDP. We can get the invoice number, we can get the date, and the invoice items there. Okay, the second one, okay, different table format. Different column names. Okay, so there's no real column names here as well. It's expenses. Okay, but again, IDP is intelligent enough using that LLM to then say it's an item description and the amount, so it pulls those, no problem whatsoever. Okay, and the last one here, again, this is actually a hotel bill, so really different column names on this one as well. So let me just zoom in on that. Okay, and you can see that we have references, charges, credits, yet IDP is still able to without any configuration in there, any further configuration, it will just add those in there, which is superb.
I think it's also important, you know, as Neil has shown here, it was different documents, different document types. Everything was a little bit different, but the AI has the context, what it means, what an invoice means, what characteristics an invoice has, and that's something it is using here to get across these different templates, these different structures, even different languages maybe, we will see later on. So there are a lot of opportunities where AI can make the difference here, and it's not just using, you know, like templates or something like this.
Thank you. So we're going to take another type of invoice here. This is a Weighbridge invoice, okay? This is using opportunity data, so it has been redacted. So one of our opportunities has been redacted for the purpose of this demo, but I thought it was a really good edge case, okay? So if you're old enough to sort of remember dot matrix printing, obviously I'm not old enough for that, you know, where you got the feed. Why are you laughing, Arslan? So here you can see you've got a feed, but the print is just going over the top. So at the top here you can see truck number is actually going over the line already. And when you get down sort of further down the list here, you can see that the silo number is actually the ship name. Okay, so they're in totally the wrong rows. Okay. Does IDP have a problem with this? No, because it understands the context of the document. The ship name is absolutely correct in there. And that's really powerful. Okay. Thank you. There's more to come. Okay. Let's take a look at different languages. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one here. We've got some Czech invoices. Okay, Czech language. Okay, has a lot of diacritical marks on it, okay, or accents. So however you want to call them. So there's the diacritical marks up the top here. In our basic configuration, all we've done, we've just said address basic, okay? No field configuration to that at all. And, okay, it's handwritten. It's pulled some of them, okay, but not all of them, okay? Can we tweak it to make it even better? Yes, we can. Okay, so here you can see the address advanced. Extract the address and please apply check language characters to it to make it correct. And that's all we had to do to make sure that this particular document is getting all the diacritical marks from that check language. You can see it down here. Okay? Plus, we're actually asking, while we're extracting the information from it, is it legally valid according to a certain check law? Okay? So the prompt we're asking is, check this check invoice for compliance. We check that, and there's our prompt. You know, it's a paragraph against this. Okay? And you can see the response it gets back is, no, this invoice is not fully compliant because of missing several mandatory elements, et cetera, et cetera. So you could use that down in your process workflow, okay? Might take another exception elsewhere. So as you're extracting information, you're also enriching the content and getting more answers from that as you're using the IDP. Okay, the last one I was just going to show here was an actual valid invoice, again, in check, and it's giving you the reasons why, okay? Just to do the yes and no there. Okay, who's added this? Oh dear. The best football team in the world.
How lucky.
Absolutely the best football team in the world here. Images, okay. Hang on, let me just refer to my notes for a second. I forgot what I was going to do here. Don't mention Liverpool's 3-1 victory over Bayern Munich in the over the 2018-19 Champions League. Stay focused and talk about IDP classification. You may upset Arslan Multi. Okay.
This is the context.
I won't mention that then. Okay. So we have images. Okay. So very impressed with what you've already saw there. We have images. Okay. There's really no text. My favorite football team. Okay. Nothing else. It doesn't even say Liverpool on here. It's got LFC. Okay. What can we do with this? Well, first of all, let's classify it. Okay. So let's suggest a class. Okay. There's not a lot to go on. It's got a couple of pictures. A football team poster. Sounds fair enough. Okay. So it's that easy to just classify. So if it was like invoices, it would give you the list, classify it as an invoice. We can just say yes. In that case, then, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to classify that document now, so it adds it to that particular class. Okay. It will take a little while. Okay. So it's added it to the football team poster, as you would expect. Okay. At this point, if it was like an invoice or something like that, it can suggest fields for you, and you can either say yes, take those fields. But as there's not a lot to work with on this particular document here, it's not really coming back with any suggestions. So let's add our own. Okay. So football team. Let's try football team. Okay. And remember, there's not really a lot to work in here, and I'm just going to put full name of team. Okay, as the second prompt in there, just to configure it slightly. I'm going to add another field. There's sponsors on there. Yeah, there's actually 2 sponsors on there. So I'm just going to say sponsor. In fact, let me just go to my reasoning. I'm just going to use the reasoning. So we've also got the reasoning in there now. So it just extracts things in a different way. And also, what we can do is instead of just sending the OCR layer over, we can also send the full file, so the full PDF over for that one. Okay, so I'm just going to say add another. And again, I'm going to do a reasoning. What else could we do here? Let's say shirt make. I mean, there's a Adidas shirt, that's for sure. I'm not too sure what the other one is. Okay. Shirt make, we'll send the full file over. It's down for reasoning here as well. Okay, and I'm just going to save that. And it will take a few seconds to just go and extract that information from here. Okay. Let's see what it comes back with. Liverpool FC as the football team. It doesn't say it on the images anywhere. The sponsor, okay, Standard Chartered and Expedia. It doesn't even have the A for it to work on here, okay? And even more impressive, New Balance and Adidas, okay? And that is that little symbol there. Okay, so we've gone through IDP configuration. Let's now take a look at the AI agents. So let's go, well, in fact, just before I do that, once we've configured IDP, what we can do is we can say new from a template. So once we've configured all of that, and this is what Manuel was talking about, is you can then have with these templates, you don't have to start from scratch, so document separation and classification, and it will map out that process, that BPMN process for you. But we've already got the process there, so I'm just going to go back to the process. Manuel, did you want to say something?
I was just saying, like in this example, for example, for the classification, there is also a way to directly show why the system, the agents have classified these documents. So you can see, also read, what was the reason because this agent classified this document as a football poster, for example, which again underlines the auditability later on.
And I can actually show that to you because it takes 2 seconds to do that. Let's go back to the Weighbridge invoice, for example. We've got this little I here, and you can see that it says document explicitly identified as a Weighbridge ticket, and then it gives the other reasons as well, item, gross, net, product information, and timestamps from a Weighbridge facility. So it tells you the reasoning behind that. Okay. So let's go back to the process and take a look at the agents. So here we have, if you remember in our main process here, we have our agent at the top, which is check vendor in system. So this is how you would configure an AI agent. Okay, so down the right-hand side here, we have the agent name. We have memory, so we can give it memory, things like if you want to have a chat bot, so it remembers the previous messages. We've got a conversation ID, so this is where we can get multiple agents talking to one another to share that memory. Here's the user prompt, which we'll see again in a minute. Okay, any variables in there, but the other thing I wanted to point out is the response. Obviously, we need the response from the AI agent, and also when Manuel referred to the tools that are used, so we've got the full list of the tools that are used with a really comprehensive explanation of what it's done and what it's found as it's been using those particular tools. Okay? If I click on this edit object here, you can see that we have agent details. We give it a name. We can choose the LLM that we want. So we have an ever-growing list of LLM models, a description. But here's really where the important thing happens. So these are the tools that we give this agent. Okay, whoops, and I pressed the wrong button, didn't I? Okay, so we go back here, and I'll just go back down to the bottom.
Just one detail, Neil.
Sure.
The LLMs, if you have your own LLM, because we know a lot of customers have their own LLM, you can bring that LLM. We can use it here also.
Thank you. So here you can see the tools. So we had, if you remember, in the end user demo, we were using fuzzy matching. So we've got that. We're using the connectors. So we can use scripts. We can use sub-processes, connectors here. So we're using the Salesforce connector and the Dynamics connector. And we can even connect to MCP, the Model Context Protocol. We can add MCP servers in here as well and connect to those. Okay? So a wide variety of tools that can be used. And then down here is where we really add the behavior and constraints. So this defines what the agent should do, what it should avoid, and how it should operate. So this is really what you're saying it can do, but also really where you're putting the guardrails in place for this particular agent. Okay? If I click on next here, this is where you see the task prompt as well. So this is more like the user prompt. You can see that there's a dynamic variable in here, which was the vendor name. So we supplied that vendor name to then go and do the work on that particular vendor. Okay? And essentially, that is really all that's to the agents. And when you configure the agents, they will appear down the side here. It's actually referencing the connectors within Automate here, which is the Salesforce connector and the Microsoft Dynamics connector as well, which was set up. And it was referencing those. Okay? So that was AI agents. We're just now going to take a little look at knowledge discovery. Okay? So some of you may have seen this before. I'm just going to go into the configuration. I'm not sort of going to go and ask it questions, but I'm going to go into how you configure a knowledge discovery agent. Okay, so here you saw that we have Clive, the invoice expert. Okay, if we want to create a new agent, we can go into agent management. We can set up a new repository. Okay, so we can add, we've got plenty of repositories in here, and at the bottom here we can say add a repository with a name, the source, so that could be one of our Pano products, it could be a third-party product, other file systems, etc., that we can connect to, and you can connect to multiple ones from multiple repositories from one agent. Okay, so once we've set that up, we can then come out of here, okay, and then go back into the agent management, and then we can create an agent. So those repositories is where Tiago was talking about. We're making it AI ready, so we're using document curation or document filters to make sure that we've got all the markdown, tables stay as tables, etc. So that will be the content lake. So we're putting that layer, that meaning, that semantic layer over the top, ready for these questions that we're going to get from the end users. So, but this is how you configure it, okay? So this is a wizard that you go through. You give it the attributes, so particular attributes to it, the actual content source, etc. I'm not going to go through this one because I've already done one. I'm not going to start typing things in. I'm going to go back to Clive because what you can do is you can just tweak the configuration. Okay, so Clive at the Invoice expert here. So you end up with this screen, okay, and you can see we've got a personality where you look at the agent name. We've got the job description that it's going to do, the specific instructions. So you should always answer professionally in no more than 1,000 words. Make sure you include an analysis section, a recommendation, etc., etc. Okay? You give it the scope. So the content source. You can include multiple sources, as I just said. Yes, so you can so from ACS, from Nuxio, OnBase, etc., and others. Okay, so we don't have to just get one source from one particular content repository. The scope, so this is where we can refine what the user is able to use or search for to reference responses. So we can have a dynamic scope in here as well. Again, we can choose the LLM that we want to use for this particular information. And this here is Alfresco specific, where that you can get it so it will appear in an Alfresco ADF application, and you can use it directly from the ADF UI. Okay, so that ends the demonstration. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a wrap-up of what you've just seen. Okay, so I can look down here. Hyland CIC solves the data and the context analysis problem. Okay, we saw agentic processing, document processing, AI agents that can separate, classify, and extract information from documents using natural language prompts. And you saw, I did no training, okay? We saw that image at the end there with Liverpool FC. Had to put that name in again, right there, okay? Knowledge discovery, AI agents that search across multiple repositories that are AI prepared and enabled to provide answers with proper context. And then finally, the enterprise agentic workflows, which were goal-driven. So you saw that in Automate, goal-driven, autonomous operation with memory, planning, and tool usage with reflection. So thank you very much.
Thank you.